I believe we need to start viewing risk differently. View risk not as a negative, but as a positive. For without risk, there is no opportunity. And if there's an opportunity, then there must be a risk. You cannot get something from nothing. There is never a painless lesson. Anything worth doing will be one, hard, and two, there will be risk involved. There will be the risk of it not working out, the risk of it being a waste of time, the risk of it looking like a foolish decision in hindsight and in the eyes of society. But there's another factor we need to remember and evaluate when we are thinking about taking a risk. And that factor is how we will feel about it later in time. The unfortunate thing with risk is the immediate danger, the immediate fear stares you in the face. It's painstakingly obvious the instant outcome of a failed chance or a failed attempt to have a positive outcome. It's painstakingly obvious, but the regret of not doing it isn't. It's it stares at you from a distance. It's lurking in the shadows. And you may notice it, you may see it, but you think, "Oh, it's so far away. It's not that big of a deal, but this right here is staring me in the face. This is a big deal. I'm scared of this. I am not taking this risk." But what you don't realize is that that face staring at you from a distance, if you don't take that opportunity, it stares at you the rest of your life. And I believe as you get closer to your inevitable end, you will see the position it was perched upon, staring at you from, was your deathbed. And it'll be a deathbed regret. You know, I truly believe deathbed regrets will be not things you did, unless you did something very bad, morally reprehensible, but they will be things you didn't do. They will be the risk you never took, the leaps of faith you never took. That's what I believe will be the regrets of people on their deathbeds. And that's why I believe it's so valuable that we keep this in mind always. Because you have to remind yourself that, yes, this is scary. It's staring me in the face. The uncertainty is making me nauseous. But remind yourself that there isn't, there's also a risk in not taking the risk. And that risk may be even worse than the worst outcome of what you're going to do. Because, say, at least if you go for it, you try, you do your best, and you fail, at least you know. You don't have to ask yourself, wake up every day and say, what if? You know, what if I just went for it? What if I just tried? What if I just took that leap, you know, that day when, you know, it seemed like the stars aligned, but I was just too scared. I believe that's worse than any danger you may face in the present moment. But as I said, you truly have to remind yourself because it isn't obvious. One stares at you in the face, and one so far away is peering at you through a scope. You can't even see it, you just have a feeling it's looking at you. But that's the one to be afraid of, because you live the rest of your life, with that uneasy feeling in your stomach. Like, someone's watching you, but that thing watching you is your conscience reminding you that you didn't live a life true to yourself. You lived a life others expected of you, and you lived a safe life. Truly, truly, you can measure opportunity with the same rule you use to measure risk. They go hand in hand. They go hand in hand. If the risk is this much, that's how much the opportunity is. Whew, I almost sneezed. That's another crucial thing to remember, because sometimes we forget. I think almost always we forget. Just because we see big risk, we forget to look at big opportunity. And this can paralyze us in fear. And this can paralyze us to never take the actions necessary to live a life worthwhile. Nietzsche has a practice where, I'm pretty sure it's Nietzsche, where he tells you to imagine that you're living this life over again. And when you think about that, ask yourself, is this a life I want to live over again? Or is this a life I pray I don't have to live over again? And if you choose the latter statement, I think that's very telling. And you should change something about your life. You should love life, and you should want to live your life over again. And if you don't, that's a sign you need to change. That's a sign you are doing something wrong, and you are not living a life true to yourself. And somewhere in your life, there is a risk that you are avoiding. But little do you know, at the same time, you are avoiding a great opportunity to live a full, enriching life that enriches your life and the lives of others. A life of service. I had something I was going to say, I forgot. But whatever. I really just want to stress and hammer home that point that risk and opportunity go hand in hand. No risk, no opportunity. Big opportunity, big risk. And I think if we can change, because so much of life is just a reframing of the mind, and reframing risk into opportunity, I believe, is powerful. It can allow you to walk steady through turbulent times, and to take the path, the hard path, because you say, this path is harder than that path. That means risk. But then you immediately reframe, that means opportunity. It means opportunities I wouldn't have going down that path. That means learning lessons I would never learn going down that path. That means meeting people I would never meet going down that path. Seeing things I've never seen going down that path. I feel like too often also we act as if life won't be risky if we just play it safe. If we play it safe, do everything right, life won't be risky. But you forget how uncertain life is. And you forget that life implies death. No matter what happens, you're going to die. That sounds pretty risky. Any decision you make, I feel like we kind of, at least I do, go to death. Oh, I'm going to do this, and then that's going to happen, and snowball, 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 death. And, that's how I think about it. Very big B. But that's how I think about it. But it's so powerful to remember that life ends in death anyways. Today or tomorrow, or in 20, or in 50, or in 60 years, you still die. You still are buried in the same ground people who are being buried today are. Burnt in the same fire that people are being burnt in today. You act like if you live a safe life, we're not going to die. But you're going to die. And I'd rather die with a clear conscience, knowing I tried to live a life true to myself. I took risks that were scary, but I took those risks in service to potential opportunities of enriching myself and others. I feel like that's a good way to meet one's end. And another point I wanted to hit on that last topic was, you can play it safe your whole life, and you can, slip and hit your head on a table and die. Just because you play it safe and never take a flight, never drive a car, never leave your house, doesn't mean you can't wake up one morning and slip and, break your neck, crack your head open. Doesn't mean some catastrophic event won't take place, and in your safe abode, you will meet your end. So I just want to make this video to, as I said, stress the point that risk and opportunity go hand in hand. And as I've said many of the times, all these videos are truly just videos to myself. Hey, come here. Very, very aggressive. All these videos are just videos to myself. So I truly want to remind myself that when I see risk, to reframe that into opportunity. That's about it.